What if the strongest sorcerer, Gojo Satoru, had never been sealed during the Shibuya Incident? Imagining Jujutsu Kaisen without Gojo sealing leads us down a fascinating path. Let's consider 4 scenarios if Gojo Satoru wasn't sealed. After all, with Gojo unchecked, who needs to step up or who gets stepped on? Let's dive into the first scenario. Many deaths could have been prevented, such as Nanami Kento's. Imagine if Gojo had been there. Nanami might not have met his tragic end. Known for his calm and methodical approach, Nanami's death was a heavy blow, especially for Yuji, who saw him as a mentor. In Chapter 120, his battle with Mahito highlights his limits when he's alone. If Gojo had been present, his overwhelming strength and speed showcased during his fight against Toji Fushiguro in Chapter 76 to 77 could have intervened to shield Nanami, possibly turning the tide against Mahito with his powerful cursed energy and techniques like Hollow Purple. With Gojo around, Nanami's tactical mind combined with Gojo's overwhelming power could have easily outmaneuvered the curses, sparing us all from tearing up at his demise. It's likely Nanami would have been spared. His strategic cleverness combined with Gojo's unmatched power would have been a formidable barrier against any curse trying to harm him. Next, let's talk about Maki Zenin and Naobito Zenin. Furthermore, the Zenin family suffered tremendously during the incident. In the manga, the Zenin family often finds itself at the heart of internal power struggles and external threats. Maki's near-fatal injuries and Naobito's death in Chapter 133 during the Shibuya Incident could have been prevented by Gojo's protective capabilities. His ability to use both Infinite Void and Unlimited Void, as seen in his encounters with high-level curses, could have safeguarded them from physical harm. This would maintain Naobito's leadership in the Jujutsu Society and allow Maki to rise in strength without the setbacks of recovery. In addition to preventing key deaths, characters like Jogo, the Volcanic Curse, and Chozo, the Blood-Manipulating Curse, pose significant threats during the Shibuya Incident. For instance, during their battle in Chapter 15, Gojo effortlessly counters Jogo's volcanic attacks and even educates him on the levels of cursed energy, highlighting his unmatched power. Gojo's presence would have meant these high-grade curses faced quick and possibly humiliating defeats. Gojo's technique, combining both limitless energy and precise strikes, could neutralize their powers, turning perilous fights into demonstrations of his strength. Instead of long, drawn-out battles, we'd see Gojo dismantling their abilities in moments, changing the entire pace and tension of the arc. We would also see Mahito's deserved defeat. Mahito, known for his cruel manipulation of souls, would likely have met an earlier and more decisive end. Mahito's growth and threat escalate throughout the manga, becoming particularly dangerous as he learns how to manipulate and evolve his soul-shaping abilities. In chapters 124 to 125, Yuji and Todo struggle greatly against him. Gojo's innate ability to perceive the true nature of souls makes him the perfect counter to Mahito's sinister techniques. An early takedown of Mahito would not only boost the morale of the sorcerers, but also cut short the emotional and psychological torment he inflicted on Yuji and the others. Gojo being unsealed would also disrupt Kenjaku's plans. Moreover, Kenjaku, the orchestrator behind many of the series' events, would need to rethink his strategies with Gojo in play. Known for his cunning and long-term planning, Kenjaku's schemes depend on creating instability and exploiting weaknesses. Gojo's tactical genius and overwhelming strength could force Kenjaku to either accelerate his plans, risking exposure, or hold back, potentially missing key opportunities. An example is Gojo's quick understanding and disruption of cursed womb plots earlier in the series. His involvement in the Shibuya Incident could have led to a similar preemptive strike against Kenjaku, unmasking his plans prematurely. This disruption could lead to early revelations of his identity and objectives, giving the Jujutsu Society a better chance at thwarting his goals. Honestly, who wouldn't want to see more of Gojo kicking butt and taking names? Next scenario. If Gojo Satoru had been in the game during the whole Shibuya Incident, Kenjaku's carefully laid plans would have had a serious reality check. Let's break down how Gojo could have thrown a wrench into the works, starting with uncovering Kenjaku's identity during the earlier revelations. Normally, Kenjaku likes to stay behind the scenes, all mysterious and scheming, but Gojo, with his knack for picking apart a curse's intent, could have figured him out way earlier, like when he dissected Jogo's abilities and intentions during their early encounters. For instance, Chapter 15 could have been pivotal in unveiling Kenjaku's true identity sooner. Gojo's knack for sensing and understanding cursed energy patterns and strategies might have led him to suspect and investigate discrepancies in the behavior and actions of seemingly unrelated characters, eventually connecting them back to Kenjaku. Imagine Gojo, with a slight smirk, piecing together Kenjaku's disguise, much like solving a complex puzzle, leading to a dramatic reveal that could have left Kenjaku scrambling. And with Gojo cracking the case early, the whole sorcerer gang would have been clued in on Kenjaku's real identity and plans. This means less running around clueless and more targeted moves against him. It's like knowing the final boss's weakness from level 1. Suddenly, you're not just surviving, you're strategizing to win. Gojo being unsealed would have prevented the culling game. His direct interference would have significant repercussions for Kenjaku's preparations for the culling game. Gojo's understanding of curse techniques and his dominant presence would likely intimidate and deter many would-be allies of Kenjaku. With his guidance, sorcerers would have likely sniffed out and disrupted the setups for the culling game much earlier. Remember how Gojo took down multiple curses in Shibuya before his sealing? His proactive stance could have sparked a preemptive strike against the culling game's framework, pulling the rug out from under Kenjaku's feet. Under Gojo's guidance, key sorcerers like Yuji, Megumi, and Yuta could have adopted more assertive roles in countering Kenjaku's maneuvers. For example, Yuji might have been directed to connect and weaken curse networks under Kenjaku's influence, leveraging his empathy and brawn. Megumi, with his tactical cleverness, could have been seen setting traps and strategies similar to his clever use of his domain expansion against Toji Fushiguro. And Yuta, with his control over Rika's power, he'd be invaluable in intercepting cursed objects and spirits linked to Kenjaku. But what if the original plan failed? Imagine if the Prison Realm box, that infamous artifact meant to seal away the mightiest sorcerer Gojo Satoru, just didn't work. The moment the Prison Realm fails is pivotal. Picture this scene during the Shibuya Incident. Gojo is surrounded. The box is activating, but instead of capturing him, it fizzles out. Maybe it malfunctions, or perhaps Gojo's power simply overwhelms it. This could have been a visually striking moment in the manga, akin to when Gojo first reveals the extent of his infinity technique against Jogo, where we see just how unstoppable he is. The immediate aftermath? Utter chaos. The curses and curse users like Jogo and Geto, who's really Kenjaku, banked everything on this plan. Their shock of the failure would be palpable. Think wide eyes and drop jaws, much like their reaction when Gojo unleashed his Hollow Purple technique for the first time and obliterated everything in its path. Gojo, unfazed and smirking, could then turn the tables, launching a counterattack that would sweep through the antagonist with ease. This moment would not only highlight his power, but also his sharp-wittedness, as he takes advantage of the confusion to assert control over the battlefield. Fans have speculated about other methods that could theoretically contain Gojo. One popular theory is the use of a special-grade cursed object, perhaps something with a history or power that rivals even the Prison Realm. Imagine a cursed artifact, lost to time, that belonged to one of the other legendary sorcerers of the past. With the initial plan botched, the story could introduce a desperate race against time. Yuji, Megumi, and others might find themselves on a quest to locate this mythical object before the antagonist can regroup and launch another attempt to seal Gojo. There would be desperate measures by the antagonists. One potential method could involve advanced barrier techniques. We've seen barrier techniques in action before, like the curtain, used in the Kyoto Goodwill event, chapters 33 to 34, to isolate areas and manipulate the flow of information and movement. Imagine a customized barrier designed specifically to dampen Gojo's abilities, perhaps incorporating elements that disrupt his infinity. The antagonist could tweak his technique to target Gojo's unique energy signature, creating a temporary prison made of cursed energy. They also could have used cursed object sealing. The use of potent cursed objects for containment isn't new. For instance, the Cursed Womb death paintings are examples of cursed objects with immense potential. The antagonist might attempt to harness or replicate such objects' properties, modifying them to specifically counter Gojo's powers, leading to a tense cat-and-mouse game as both sides scramble to gain control over these powerful artifacts, as well as the concept of combining forces that could take center stage, as curses and sorcerers might unite their energies to craft a new sealing method. This strategy echoes the cooperative spell cast by students during the Shibuya Incident to exercise Hanami, showing the power of combined efforts. This united front could forge a seal that even Gojo might struggle against temporarily. And before we proceed with the last theory, it contains a major spoiler. While sealed, Gojo couldn't participate in the battles or provide support to his friends. This allowed the villains to carry out their plans without facing his overwhelming strength and strategic mind. Without Gojo's presence, his allies had to fend for themselves, often struggling against powerful enemies. When Gojo was finally unsealed, the situation had changed significantly. Sukuna, the king of curses, had grown even more powerful. Despite Gojo's incredible abilities, the long period of being sealed meant that the enemies had time to prepare and strengthen themselves. In the decisive battle, Gojo faced Sukuna. Despite Gojo's best efforts, Sukuna's power was immense. The fight was intense, showcasing Gojo's unparalleled techniques and strategic prowess. However, the time Sukuna and the other villains had to plan and grow stronger while Gojo was sealed played a critical role. Ultimately, Sukuna overpowered Gojo, leading to his tragic death. If Gojo had never been sealed, things might have been different. He could have intervened earlier, preventing the villains from executing their plans and stopping Sukuna before he reached his peak power. Gojo's strategic thinking and unmatched strength could have altered the course of events, giving him and his allies a better chance at survival. And there you have it, folks. Exploring what-if scenarios where Gojo Satoru isn't sealed opens up interesting possibilities. If Gojo was around, the story could show more of his awesome powers and smart moves, making things more exciting. However, with Gojo handling so many problems, other characters might not get as much spotlight, which could make the story less thrilling in some ways. What do you think? Would keeping Gojo unsealed make Jujutsu Kaisen better, or do you prefer seeing how the other characters handle things without him? Are you curious for more Jujutsu Kaisen content? Well, that's the subject of this other video. Click on this link to see another cool anime video. Go ahead, click it.